Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Kyivlab podcast featuring Ukrainian innovators. And today I would like to welcome Vlada Liashchenko, CEO of Talando Recruitment, that provides recruiting services for product companies and startups. Hello, Vlada.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Irina. It's nice to see you again. And yeah, I do believe that I might start with telling a little bit more about my company and what we're doing. As you mentioned, at Talando Recruitment, we work mostly for hiring IT specialists around the globe. So we're not limited in terms of any locations, and at this stage we're like team of 26 people. Most of them are recruiters and researchers. As for the services which we provide, obviously this is a recruitment. Sometimes we can go for HR audit or some additional training for the recruitment teams if it's required. And what makes us unique, we do value time of our clients, and I do believe that one size fits all. It's not our approach in terms of helping clients. You need to dive deeper into the main problems of the clients, and sometimes hiring additional developers is not the solution. So we're trying to find what's gonna fit specific client and their needs. Sometimes it might be the additional team of outsourcing developers who might help to deliver a feature in more like fastest way, or sometimes it might be some kind of restructuring the team, or maybe some kind of the audit in terms of what they've been doing, and maybe there could be other solutions for them. So yeah, I do believe that the main aim for our company and our team is to help the client to ease their pain if it's possible, or to solve it in general. Because I don't have the main idea that we need to stuff any candidate whatever it takes. I do believe that's more about like equal partnership when you feel and understand the client, when you are trying to find the perfect fit in terms of the hard skills and the soft skills. So this is about some kind of magic, and I do believe the more time you spend on the beginning of your relationship with any of the client, like asking a lot of questions additional, as we're not the in-house recruiters, we're not aware of all of the specifics which are inside of the team, it will help to deliver better candidates within like shorter period of time. So all of these like kickoff meetings, they might seem like useless, but actually it's not, because the more answers we have, the better candidates we will find.
Wow, that's very interesting. Seems like you have a very personal approach and really try to solve problems. Not just, as you mentioned, not just hire what the clients told you, but actually see the needs and the problems and listen to what they say.
It's also a question of the reputation. From my perspective, I don't feel like I should go for any kind of assignment. And if I do understand that this specific client, they like technically don't need a recruitment agency at this point, I will tell them this information if they're not aware of it, because in the end of the day we're all humans. We're like trying to make this world better as much as we can, so we need to value our time and the time of our clients, partners, because life's way too short, so don't want to waste it on something which nobody needs.
Oh, that's very nice. This is probably the best what I've heard so far from any recruiting agency or company. Yeah. Very interesting. What do you think, if talking overall about recruitment and now the times, what do you think is the biggest problem right now people face with the recruitment?
I do believe that there are definitely like a couple of problems. The main one, which we saw like when the pandemic started, so companies there were obviously not ready for working remotely. Users they didn't have any facilities for that, And so the same goes to the candidates or like current employees, because some of them have kids, and it's really hard to work when you have a couple of kids running around in the background and you are not capable to concentrate. Also, we need to take into consideration the like economical situation around the world. There's like banking crisis, and there's a lot of huge companies like Meta. They're making the silent layoffs, and I do believe they're going to be a little bit more. So the IT world is going like spinning around and going a little bit in circles. So we probably might face the crisis which was similar to 2008, but we're like fingers crossed, and we hope it's going to be easier for us because we have been through that once. And additionally, I do believe there is way too much of switchers who are still continue switching from different domains into IT, and people still believe that IT is really easy and you can, I don't know, within 3 months after courses, you'll be able to have a decent job. Additionally, I will add there the problem of like remote work. It's not actually a problem for me and my team because we've been working like that for 3 years, and I do believe a little bit more. But some of the companies, they now, like nowadays, they're looking to have candidates who are or employees who are going to the offices. And due to the statistic, most of the people who are working remotely, they tend to work 20% more, like 20% longer than if they're going to the office. So that's might be a huge problem. Also, we can add here the Ukrainian and Russia war, which is not doing any favor in terms of the general economical situation and the market situation for hiring candidates, because there is a lot of candidates who immigrated because of the war, and we can see that they're trying really hard to get any job, so they're like asking for a little bit lower salaries because they desperately need it, and that's also is causing the problem. But from the other hand, I can see that, for example, like Polish market, they're having a huge boom in terms of the IT, because after Ukraine is like currently in the war zone, so they are having a lot of new clients. They have a lot of new outsourcing companies. Even some of the Ukrainian companies, they were capable to relocate their offices, so they're doing pretty good in this field. And we do have some kind of a prediction how long it will take. We had the prediction that starting from September, October, the market, overall market's gonna be a little bit better in terms of number of open positions, but it's too early to say so. So I do believe we need like a couple of more weeks to understand if it's gonna be the case at this point. So yeah, those factors, they're influencing a lot. And we used to have a client whose headquarter was in the United States, and they were having all of their like finances in one of the banks, which were obviously the bankrupt. And thanks to the U.S. government, they were capable to get all of their finances back to pay the salary for their employees. So I'm not sure if it's ever gonna happen in Ukraine if we face this situation, but there's also some positive moments.
Oh, interesting. Then this is very interesting to listen about the market because I also sort of relocated. I plan to do it a little bit earlier, but anyway, I'm in the United States right now, and as you said, it's a little different. It's totally different market that, in my opinion, than it was
Mm-hmm.
in Ukraine, for example.
There's additionally different approaches in terms of the recruitment. For example, if we talk about recruitment in Canada, like one of my friends, she sent around like 200 applications and she had zero response. So that's a really poor statistic. And if we are talking about some candidates who are trying to find job in Germany, the statistic is pretty the same, because to apply for the position in Germany, you need to have German language. Even if we're talking about the IT sphere, it's like almost mandatory to have it. So the market is pretty intense, and I do believe the best approach is to add like cover letters, and some of the candidates like from Ukraine, they might be overqualified for this or that position because we have a really wide range of experience in different domains. So that might be an issue as well for some of the countries and locations and the companies as well.
Interesting. You mentioned Canada, and I know that seems like your headquarters are in England right now.
It
Yeah,
is.
and I'm curious. So, being in England and comparing Ukrainian and like British market, what are the differences, for example, or what are the specifics?
Okay, so that's actually a really good question. I do believe the difference is huge, but the problems are the same. So everybody is qualified candidates, but they have all of them have different approach. For example, even starting from the communication with the clients, here it's yeah, you most often call clients like picking up your phone and just calling them directly, which is something I have never done in Ukraine because you usually keep all of the most of the communication in the beginning written. It's like emails or some chats on LinkedIn. Here it's more like the personal approach. You need to meet clients face to face. You need to make some deals and so on. In terms of the hiring here, they are kind of old fashioned because like 90% of the jobs this is like the office jobs, so you need to go to office, which is also something strange because we're used to the remote life and we're used to okay occasionally go into the office like once a month for some team building or I don't know, like maybe signing some documents if you need that. But I can see that here is also the differences, like the taxes. Hiring people here is much more expensive rather than hiring developers in Ukraine. But something is really popular here is like having a contractors. And they're more eagerly hiring people who are not from the UK because then they can treat them as contractors so they don't pay that much taxes. And from the legal perspective, it would be easier if you want to fire an employee. Here you need to send like I don't know the notice for 2 months, and there should be some kind of investigation. Why are you firing this person? And in case you have done something wrong or you said something wrong, there could be some other problems which you might face. But if you have the contractor, you just send the notice like via email and that's all, and you're done. So that's technically easier and more faster way because none of the existing clients they have an idea like how long will they need this person for. So contractor works is really popular here. And comparing the recruitment agencies, like for example in Ukraine, recruitment agencies they mostly specify in some. If we're talking about IT, there's definitely all of the IT positions like the standard, backend, front end, QAs, and other. But here, if we talk about recruitment agencies, they specify in some domains only. And I don't know, for example, if you need the DevOps to hire DevOps in London, there is a special recruitment agency which is doing this in London, and they're all divided by the niche and they're all divided by location. That's really weird because I've been talking a lot to different owners of recruiting agencies, and I said you need to diversify your risks. What if you will have no assignments to hire, I don't know, front end developers? What then? But they say like no, we always will have the assignments. So I don't know, maybe that's true, but from my perspective is a bit scary.
Interesting.
Who knows? But still they're working for a lot of period of time and doing pretty good. And another interesting stuff that in Ukraine, the recruitment agencies are divided. Like you have like business development department, you have recruiters, you have researchers, you have some financial team and other. And here, all of the recruiters they work as recruiters 360. That means the recruiter should find the client, should find the candidate, and should close the deal. So technically, it's like a one-man army but inside of the company, and this is really interesting approach. So yeah. And also from this perspective I might say that sales manager is one of the most popular position in the UK because they're like doing it old school calling. I do receive like, I don't know, 5 calls per day. And when somebody trying to sell me some, I don't know, software, some services, additional stuff. And yeah, that's insane. But somehow they get it. And they continue calling, sending you emails.
Can we talk a little bit about you? So I know that you moved to the CEO position, and I wanted to ask you what inspired you to run now this company, and what was your experience to shift into this new to this position?
Sure. Yeah, I do believe from my own like personality, I'm a bit competitive person, so I like compete in anything I'm doing. So it's really hard sometimes because every time I try some doing some new hobbies, I need to compete. I've been working for a really long period of time as a recruiter, and I do understand what are the problems and all of the clients are facing. And my background is I've been working mostly for the product companies. Then I switched to a recruitment agency because I wanted to gain more experience. And in terms of experience, I was willing to try working on the different markets, not like only on the Ukrainian market. That was the part of my inner curiosity to expand my knowledge. And there is something about recruitment which I find like magical because this is like matching the person and the company in a specific period of time when they have the same point of view on something or on development in generally. And this is always about the perfect timing because sometimes developer might be not ready for this role or the company is not ready for this developer. And yeah, there's kind of the magical spiritual connections which should be. And in terms of the position, I do believe it's also connected to the level of maturity and the level of empathy, like emotional intelligence, which I have. And it's really interesting to have something which is complicated and you need to solve it. From my perspective, the new position is new challenges. It's the same as going to a new market. For example, we've always been to have diversification in terms of the markets because you know you need to have plan B, plan C, XYZ in the end. And this is something about like a sustainable business. For example, if you're not capable of hiring candidates in Ukraine, you need to be able to hire them in other locations. And specifically at this stage, as the team is pretty big, I do believe there's a big number of recruiters from my perspective. So you challenge yourself, you challenge your team, and you live like one big family. I don't like this comparison, but it's actually it is like a family, and all of the employees were all different, but we have the same values which we share. And I do believe you're capable to help at least one person. That means that you're doing something right in your life. And I do believe in karma, that if you're doing something good, you will receive something good in the future. I never expected, but all of the situation or cases which I face, they just lift me up. I've been hiring Python developers for one of our clients in Ukraine. It was a really like tough negotiations in the end because this candidate he had the counter offer from one company from Berlin and he was thinking about going with that offer. I said, let's go for a short call. I will explain in terms of the taxes, like what will you get in the end. I did know that he has wife, she has wife and the child, and I said, in the end of the month, if you pay all of the taxes, the rent, and all of the additional, like list of things, you end up with like approximately 100 euros, and that's literally nothing. And if you're planning to stay there for a longer period of time, that means that your child need to go to the kindergarten. That's additional money. And he decided to go with my offer because there was an opportunity to relocate to Canada. In the beginning, I told him like there is opportunity, but I cannot say 100% within 2 years they will relocate you. It depends on you and your skills. And I do believe half a year ago he sent me a message that he is currently in Canada and he's really happy that he went with this offer. And I was really fascinated because it was really nice feedback to have. And I do believe that the work of recruiter and working for a recruitment agency is something about receiving these feedbacks.
Life sort of pays you back, pays you back in a good feedback. Yeah, that's true. You mentioned that you are very competitive, and I wanted to ask you because I know
Yeah.
that you became a powerlifting champion. So can you like that's very impressive, I think. And
Yep.
do you have any like experience that you took from that competition, or why did you do that? And is
Yeah.
there any similarities between that championship and running a business, for example?
I do believe it's always a question of your own like power of will and strength, and you don't know how strong are you or like how much you can do. I started it like I just started going to the gym and I decided to try because there was a kind of a hardcore gym with all of these muscly men doing some bodybuilding and powerlifting, and they all of them were lifting, and I'm like, I want to try it. And I had the coach and I asked him like, can we try that? So we tried, and I said, wow, that's cool. And then we try a little to have more weight to lift a little bit more, and then I was like wondering, so what is my maximum, like where should I stop? And we continue doing that on a regular basis. And then my coach, he said, do you want to go to the competition? I said, I've never been to competitions. Yeah, I would love to. So we applied there, we went. I do believe it was one of my first competitions. I did won because I have no expectations. Like I went there for fun. For me it was like just trying myself and see what's going on. So I tried, I succeeded, and then I continued doing that for a little bit longer period of time. Unfortunately, after that, I had a couple of injuries because powerlifting is a little bit dangerous kind of sport. So I didn't have like the high expectations, and I do understand that while doing it, if you want to do it professionally, you probably need to quit the job and do it like 24/7. And for me, was more like showing something like to myself first of all what I can do. And yeah, that was really awesome time. I really enjoyed it. I participated at a lot of competition and it was really nice. But then I had another story when I was invited for the shooting classes. I decided like why not? Why shouldn't I go there? It's interesting. It's a good skill to have. Who knows, maybe I'll use it one day. And I went there. I started going on a regular basis, doing some trainings, and then I was also invited to go to the competitions to Lviv. And for me, it was like, oh, we're having a nice weekend. We're going to Lviv. Maybe we'll do some, I don't know, shooting, eat some fancy food, and hang around. And I got the third place, and I didn't expect it. I was like, oh no, they're joking. There should be some mistake because I don't know. When you keep it, it should be like an easy attitude for your achievements or your losses because you don't need to focus on something which is negative. And this is the same for the recruitment and recruitment agency. I do like really hard assignments when you need to think, and this is like the general approach. First of all, you think about the problem. You don't start doing some activities before you figure it out and you understand all of the aspects of the assignment. because I've seen it a lot of the time when you start assignment and then within 1 week everything changed, because we're living in a really dynamic world, and sometimes there should be additional time for a client to make up their mind. So it's always about finding the more, like, not the easier, but maybe more convenient way to solve the situation. I do love assignments when the client said, "Oh, we need 10 Java developers for yesterday," and then you start asking, "Why do you need 10? How will you define if they're all of them that good?" And then in the end of the conversation, we figure out that technically they need only two people. And it's also about the trust. From one perspective, that's nice to close 10 Java developers. It's doable. You can do it and earn a lot of money. But from a second perspective, why do you want to do that if it's not true? In the end of the day, they will fire some people, and this is also the part of your responsibility. And recruitment works both ways. You cannot lay down the client, and you cannot, do the same with the candidate, because this is about the relationship in general. And we're talking about how to be a human and the human resources and how to treat the people. You should treat everybody equal and apply the same, like, vision and for all of them. So if you want to be a nice person, you should treat other people nice as well. I think it's really straightforward. And also, I had a lot of cases when you help some developer to find a job, even though it's not like your main task to do. There's somebody just asking for help, and within a couple of years, they come to you and ask you to be their recruitment agency because you helped them once. And I do believe if you do this kind of stuff, it's not about waiting something in return. It just, you do that because you can. And I don't know, I never expected to like to have thank you. It's more than enough from my perspective. And if it converts to something bigger or much more meaningful, that's really nice. And also, from, like, inside of our company, we're not working with several domains which are going in the other direction with our vision and mission. So we're not working with adult companies, and we're not working with gambling companies, because I do believe there should be something which is helpful for the humans in general. We have a lot of clients from medical sphere, when you understand that this is something which other people might use and it's going to be helpful, and you can see the impact. And the same goes, like, to financial companies, which is like, I don't know, doing some new banking, online banking system which would be more convenient, or educational technologies or something like that. And maybe that's not the right approach for the people who are owning the business. But technically, you probably should accept all of the assignments and just go and make money. But from another perspective, I don't know how could people join or help some companies which are working in the, gray niche, and then sleeping at night. I would sleep much more better if I understand that this, I don't know, software company, they're doing something which might help other humans, or you can see the impact in terms of the other people who are receiving something in advance from this. And it's always nice to know. There's a lot of situations when you understand that this company you've been working for, they doing some volunteering projects for supporting Ukraine, and it's really nice. And I do remember the day when the war started, most of our clients, they just sent letters just asking, are you okay, like, how is your team, and all of this stuff. So technically they shouldn't have I don't know, ask that or care, but they did.
So I have another question about your company. So you have this interesting name, Lando. Can you tell us a little bit more about? Because I know there is a hidden story about that.
There is a story behind it. So technically, Talan, which is in Ukrainian language, is like having ability to do something. So it's like ability or some like specific thing which you might, or like a talent. So it goes for the both way. And do it's been two. So you have talent too. So we have a talent to hire developers to help businesses to grow and make everything happen in this sphere. And as for my background, quite the education, the philologist, so Ukrainian language and Ukrainian literature and English as well.
So it's like a play of words, definitely. Okay, and one more, maybe like the last question. Is
To
there
find,
anything you're looking for right now? Maybe
yep.
any partnerships or new clients or something like that?
Oh, that's actually a good question. We're always open to new connection, and I do believe that like networking is always something nice to have and to talk, because you never know when those new connections might be helpful, or maybe you could help them in any shape or form. And in terms of what I was looking for, I do believe that we are capable and we do will be able to find some additional time to help companies to find suitable candidates. So technically, I'm open for new clients, probably as most of the recruitment agencies worldwide. Yeah, looking for the new clients or maybe some new businesses. We're also interested in finding maybe some software which is useful for people who work in the HR tech. So any tools which might help to automate your like daily routine is gonna be really nice to have. And actually, there is pretty huge niche for these businesses now, I can see, and a lot of new companies they're establishing and they're providing additional services. So it's always nice to track all of the new stuff which is happening. And what else do we do? We still have our like side projects which are connected to volunteering, and also I would be more than happy to speak to other people who might help with this, because you never know who's in charge of what kind of activities. In terms of the volunteering project, I do believe there half of my team they're involved in different directions, in terms of like raising money for specific literary groups, and so does I. And sometimes if you're looking for some specific, I don't know, equipment or anything, other people might have the opportunity to have it faster or give you some connections or the better price. That this is something which is also might be of interest. And additionally, we're always looking for speakers for our YouTube channel, but it's in Ukrainian. Yeah, so it's called Interview Done. We started it when the pandemic hits and there was a lot of layoffs. We realized that people are not capable or do not remember how to pass the interviews. And then that was the initial idea of that. Then it's transformed into relocation and all of the different domains. We have a lot of videos about Java front end. We tried to divide it into having, like top five companies like Facebook, Amazon, Google, and Netflix, the interviews with developers, how to make it to these companies, but we're still missing the person from Netflix who's capable of speaking Ukrainian. Unfortunately, I had a couple of attempts to connect with such people, but
Didn't work out.
no, unfortunately.
Maybe if there is a person from Netflix, yeah, just let us know. Yeah. Uh,
That would be really
yeah.
nice.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. I think it was very interesting, and I felt, well, I knew you, but after listening to you, I kind of remembered, about all these values and how nice you are, and it's just like it was a pleasure talking to you, Lada. Yeah, yeah,
Thank you so much. It's likewise.
yeah.